what you're trying to do is to say, is God real? Well, what you're not saying is, we know what real is, and it's this. And does God fit into that category?
It's also, we know what God is in order to assess it.
Well, because you could reverse it and say, is real God? Mm-hmm. It's the same question, right? It's the same question.
No, it's not. This is the one thing I'm going to disagree with Jordan Peterson on in this stream as we close out. And my quote comes right after this, and that's probably a good place to end. It's not the same question. Is God real is not the same question as is real God. Is real God cannot be answered because God has a very specific definition, and is that God is the singular sentience that unites all other sentient beings that exist and is existence itself. And if you say, is real God, then it's like saying, this is the problem with saying, I'm pro-liberty versus I'm anti-fascist, okay? Is real God is the same, is a kind of the equivalent of saying, I'm anti-fascist. Is God real is like saying I'm pro-liberty. And the difference is that one of them has a goal that can be achieved. Is God real? Well, let's assume that we have a definition of God. And that is a useful definition of God. If it's not a useful definition, then it isn't a definition. Okay? Definition is by it defining. Okay? And therefore is defined, so it is distinct. And to say, is God real? Then we could say, okay, but what is God? Okay, given this definition of God, is God real? Then we can say, okay, given this definition of God, we can adjust it if we are wrong and say, is God real? Eventually, you will get, if you get the correct definition of God, you will get God is real. But and God, you could say God is reality. It's like is water wet? it's water. And water often is used to represent God in Scripture, and not coincidentally. But to say is real God is to simply ask, can we call it the same? Can we call God, can we call what is real God? Or can we call the real God? And the answer is yes, but it's not, it doesn't give any information, okay? And there's no sequence of thought that can follow. It's just like yes or no. But how did you even get the answer yes or no? You can't actually get the answer yes or no unless you already know the answer. So it's a useless question. So you grow up being told there's no bad questions. Yes, there are. There are bad questions. Bad questions have no answer. Bad question is a coin heads or tails? It's both. Now, if you flip it and it lands, like which side of the coin did it land on? That is a question that that is answerable if you flip a coin. But if you don't flip a coin and you just ask me a question about a coin in my pocket, and you're like, is that quarter heads or tails? Or does that quarter have heads or tails? Is a better way to word it. the answer is both. But if you word it as A or B, then and not, C, all of the above, and you don't include that, then you can't actually answer the question. Then, therefore, it's a bad question. Is real God is not the same question as is God real? One of them is useful question, and the other one is not even a question. It just has a question mark at the end of it when you write it down. But it's not a real question. Is real God? Is real real? Is real? Then to say is real God is the same as saying is real? Question mark. It's not a question. And so just like to be anti-fascist is not to be anything. You're nothing. But if you're pro-freedom or liberty or personal sovereignty or whatever, like that is to be something. And it's totally different. And you would think that they would be the same. They're not. And then you have people in the media saying, I don't understand. How can you be against fascism? How can you be pro-fascism? Or how can you not be pro-anti-fascism? It's like, there's no goal in being anti-fascism. There's no goal in the quote-unquote question of is God real? Or is real God? Is real purple? Is real up? Is real real? It doesn't pan out every single time. It doesn't matter what you put as the end of that, attempted question. It will never become a question. If a question does not have a goal, then it isn't a question. And to say, is real God, does not have a goal. But to say, is God real, you do have a goal. Your goal is to figure out if God is real. But is real God, the goal is not to figure out whether or not what is real is God. The question would be, is God real? And if God is real, then what is real is God. And therefore, then you end up at that conclusion. That's why I said you can only answer this non-question if you already have the answer. It's like if you know that God is real, then you can say that what is real is God. But if you don't know that God is real already, then you cannot answer, you cannot even hope to answer the question of is real God, because it's not even a question. So Jordan Peterson is wrong, and it is a very important thing to understand. But it's also subtle, and I'm not claiming to have done the best job explaining it, but hopefully some people caught it.